So the last tool that I'm going to talk about here is probably one of the most valuable ones, especially to folks who are doing video marketing these days, and that's Fiverr. If you've never heard of this before, I think you're really going to enjoy what it can do for you and at the cost it can do it for, especially relative to kind of where we've been lately and all the tools that have come out and all the automation that's out there and how the risk is associated with some aspects of that automation. But if you want to stay out of that loop and you want to get somebody, get their hands dirty and want to get them in to do something that you just don't feel like doing, a task that you need automated that's going to be really beneficial for you that you just can't do, I'm going to show you where to go to get that done. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about why you might want to use a site like Fiverr. So we're back in Video Shadow, and I used the keyword analyzer because I wanted to highlight, again, the value of this tool and what it can tell us. So I did a search for video SEO, and I'm looking at the top 10 ranking videos in YouTube right now for that. I can see the page rank, the views per day, number of comments, number of favorites, rating, likes, dislikes, all of these things that we know contribute to rank. So if we're looking at this particular section, the comments, the favorites, the rating, the likes, the dislikes, and how old it is, and then to the same vein we talked about before, things like views come into play, and then later in this series we talked about as well, how do you build out credibility for your website, how do you build backlinks to your videos to build up that normal search ranking that doesn't fall into these semantic factors like likes and comments and things like that. So we talked about how to build in the natural search aspect. We talked about how to get that free traffic from bookmarking and social networks. We talked about how to get the paid traffic through either AdWords or YouTube PPC or through Facebook PPC, regardless of what it might be. We talked about all those methods. But what happens when you have a situation where you have all those other indicators working, but you're being beat on comments, right? So what if somebody has more comments than you, or they have more likes than you, or they have more subscriptions to their channel than you do? Those things sometimes can be a little bit harder to beat. So if you can't personally do those, you can do one of two things. You can either start to open up a whole bunch of YouTube accounts and like your own videos, right? That has some risk associated with it. So unless you're going through proxies and you make sure you're covering your tail so that Google knows that these are unique accounts instead of thinking this is one person that's doing this on every single account, you can outsource this. Now, it's hard to outsource tasks like that, or it has traditionally been in the past. Where are you going to find somebody to go get comments for a video? Where are you going to find somebody to get likes for a video? Where are you going to find somebody to subscribe to your channel? In fact, it actually gets a lot deeper than that, but I'm going to show you one of the solutions that we use a lot to do this kind of stuff, and that's a website called Fiverr. Now, this is a really cool site. I mean, the concept of the site is basically awesome. You post a job and you say, here's what I'm willing to do for $5. Or the contrary is, you post a job and say, for $5, will you do this thing for me? Now, I want to show you why this is cool for you as a video marketer. So say you go into Video Shadow and you know that you're a little bit weak in comments and you need more comments. So I'm going to go to the search box here and I'm going to type in YouTube comments. And what I'm going to get is a list of people who say that they're willing to give you YouTube comments. This person says, I'll give you 50 YouTube comments for $5. So right there, if you need more YouTube comments, then come here and buy this for $5 and you can get more YouTube comments. Now let's just say you need more YouTube likes. I'll do the same exact search and I'll find somebody who's guaranteeing me 1,200 YouTube likes in 4 days. There you go. There's another example of how you could use a website like this for only $5. You can move one of those semantic factors, one of those behavioral factors that isn't working for you. So let's say you need more people to embed your video on their blog or their website or in another place that's outside of your page. So you can go and you can pay people to embed your YouTube video on blogs. So this person says they'll embed it on a high traffic blog for $5. I'll embed it onto a video. I'll embed it onto another web page for $5. You can find people that are willing to do that for only $5. Let's say you need people to share your video. So go ahead and search that. You can find people, again, for only $5 that are willing to submit your video through a whole bunch of different video sharing sites or manually share your video to a bunch of different users for that same amount of money. So the crux of this is that when you get into a situation where you know you can drive views, right? We can always drive views, but sometimes you need to start the conversation. So you need somebody to start commenting. And it's one of those kind of things that once you hit a tipping point with things like comments, so if I get 20 comments or if I get 5 comments, sometimes it's so much easier to get that 10th comment or the 11th or the 20th once that conversation is started. You'll notice that sometimes all you have to do is just drip feed those first couple comments in, and then you can start the conversation, and then views is enough to drive it, right? And so this is a really, really good place to go to find that kind of work, okay? So if you're looking for somebody to do a specific task, regardless of what that task is, you can help with a really short amount of money move the needle on the specific aspects of your YouTube video that need to be tweaked. So don't forget about this when you're using your video SEO strategies. Where you're lacking, go to a site like Fiverr to help fill in the blanks. Now the other good thing about this is if you're nervous about using a site like TubeMogul, because we talked about TubeMogul, and TubeMogul isn't going to work for everything. So if you have a really, really affiliate-driven thing, if you're just promoting something just to make cash, sometimes TubeMogul won't allow it. If you hit that kind of situation, then go find a guy like this who's going to submit your site for you manually rather than doing it automated. And a lot of times this was like this way with article marketing too. If you manually did the submissions, it worked a lot better than automating the submissions because you could tailor each submission to the site that you're submitting it to. So after you do your submissions and after things start to settle out for you, if you need to start the conversation with people, come in here. You can pay for comments, pay for likes, pay for subscriptions, pay for embeds, pay for all the aspects that help drive up your rank within this, and then you can start to watch and see how that moves the needle on your ranking for any given term that you want to rank for in YouTube. So rest assured, if you can't physically do it yourself, you could always find somebody on Fiverr willing to do it for you for only $5.